Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Chris Kalaboukas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation, startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. And actually, today we are going to talk about startups. That's right, folks, we're going to talk about startups, because I want to start a new feature, which I'm going to do weekly, and I was going to do it on Monday, but because of the short week, I'm going to do it today, which is Thursday, and we're going to talk about startup ideas. So I've realized that I have written down a crapload of startup ideas, and a lot of these ideas haven't gone anywhere. So I thought, why don't I just release them into the ether, tell you what they are, and if you're interested in getting into and developing a startup, just contact me and we'll go into the details. But what I'm going to talk about today is that if you're listening on YouTube or if you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you'll be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe. Please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So, like I said, what I'm going to do is once a week, and probably Monday. I think I'm going to do it on Monday. But today is not Monday, so even though it's called Startup Monday, it's going to be on Thursday this week. So get over it. Don't let it rock your world. It's fine. So today, on Startup Monday, we're going to talk about an extension to a service that I was talking to a startup about. So there was a startup that I was talking about consulting with a while back, and they had a tool for applicants, for job applicants, for people who are looking for work. And what it did was it actually, you could enter the name of the job description of the kind of job that you wanted. And what it would do is it would go in and pull out the keywords in the job description. And then it would create a list of the keywords that you could then put into your own resume and allow you to update your resume on your own. And I thought, well, this is a really good idea. It's an excellent concept. And what it would do is it would not look at just that job description, but it would look at a bunch of other job descriptions and sort of pull that in together and pull in like a set of keywords that you would then be able to use in your resume. You could create your own resume, and I believe there might have been a feature to automatically apply to jobs as well, but I'm not sure. So I said to the founder, I said, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. I love it. Couple of things could be better. First of all, they wanted to use a subscription model, a SaaS model. I'm like, the problem with SaaS and job, because if you think about it, it's the applicant who's paying. And the applicant doesn't really want to subscribe to a service after they've gotten the job, because they're going to get the job and then they're going to cancel. So instead of doing it come up with a new business model. Do a new business model, say pay us until you get a job, pay per application, or something like that. Come up with a new way of presenting that, because if you think about it, it's a short-term thing. Supposedly, hopefully, it's a short-term thing where they use the tool to generate a great resume, apply for the job, and then get a job. And then what will happen is that you can't get them to pay for a year in advance. People won't do that. People will pay until they get the job they want, and then they'll stop paying. So there's got to be alternative business models. So come up with a new business model around that. And then the second piece of advice that I gave was it doesn't go quite far enough. Because put yourself in the position of an applicant. So you've all been out there in the world applying for jobs, whether you're in the tech field or the business field, whatever field you're in. You know that talent acquisition right now is broken. I've talked about that many, many times in other shows, that there's issues with talent acquisition. And the biggest issue with talent acquisition, or at least the first issue, there's lots of issues, tons of stuff. The first issue with talent acquisition is getting the quality individual resumes past the ATS Blackhole, applicant tracking system. Whether it's Brass Ring or Workday or whatever you're using, whatever companies are using to filter applicants, unless it gets through the ATS filter, then nobody will ever see the resume. So what I suggested Because if you think about it, think about what has to be done, is that you have to customize your resume for each and every job description. At least that's what everyone says. Everyone says you need to customize your resume for every job description. But that is a ton of work. And sure, if you're not working, that's great. You got lots of time. You can do that. If you are working, however, then it's really difficult to find the time to do all that. So I said, why don't you take the keywords that you've created based on the job descriptions that have been entered and have the system generate a perfect resume based on what the recruiter is looking for in the job. You'll have the keywords in there. You won't stuff it with keywords because there's a certain limit to what ATSs will go, hey, this is a stuffed resume. I'm not going to pick it because they've obviously just designed the resume around the job description. But what it should do is create a legitimate resume that uses the right keywords, but at the same time matches to the personal profile of the applicant. So you have an applicant profile, which is, these are my skills, responsibilities, the stuff I did. And then you have the job description. It matches those things up and creates a fresh resume every single time. And then it creates a resume for the job. Then it applies to the job with that resume. Now, I'm not trying to get around ATSs. I'm just saying that the amount of effort to try and work with the ATS, and if you think about it, you could go even more advanced and have it poll the company and go, what kind of ATS does this company use? Oh, it uses Workday. Oh, well, if it uses Workday, then do some digging into the algorithm of Workday and figure out what it uses to do the matching criteria. If you ask me, that is something people will pay for to get a leg up, to get past the ATS black hole and actually in the hands of a recruiter or a hiring manager who would be able to see that person. So I suggested that, and unfortunately they weren't able to implement it, but that's my idea. That's my Startup Monday idea for this week, is develop a tool for applicants which will automatically generate individualized resumes for people so it can help get them through the ATS filter to the HR manager. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form that you create a resume which does not map to your particular skill sets. That's why I said it's got to be a combination of this is what you do and this is how it needs to be said for the job description. Because if you think about it, there's many, many things that are skills that are applicable to almost anybody, no matter what the job description is. So for example, if you had and I've seen this many times before, is that you have job descriptions that are technical project manager, technical product manager, project manager, product owner. And then you look at the description itself and the job description isn't the same as the title. But what is the HR person looking at? They're looking at technical product manager. And if your resume says technical project manager, they might go, this is obviously not the right kind of person. I'm sure they're not going to look at it just on that. But you see what I'm saying? Is that the more you align the terminology, because the skill sets for a product manager and a project manager are very similar. I mean, there's some things that one does and one the other one does, but there's lots of overlap there. And even a startup founder. Because if you think about it, in a lot of companies, a product manager is basically like a startup founder, entrepreneur. So if I had a resume of an entrepreneur and a resume of a product manager and a resume of a project manager, there was a lot of skill sets that overlap. But the system may not be able to determine that because the resume doesn't reflect that. So to make it easier for these applicants to get work, why not build a system that generates unique resumes every time and then applies to that job? That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.